How you doing? I'm Michael Bell, the voice of Duke.
Hi, this is Adrienne Palicki, Lady J from G.I. Joe.
Hey there, it's Rachel Nichols, aka Scarlett.
And if you're listening,
And you're listening to
And you are listening to Anything Joe's, a collaborative journey through the world of G.I. Joe with Greg and Jaren.
Yo Joe!
Got my G.I. Joes, got my comic books, watching cartoon episodes. Watch me go and box, dead stop, Jaren on his toes. Watch me go and lock a whole new world you never know. On my freaking block, on my block, anything Joe's. Roll my badger into work today. Yes sir, no sir, I can't call this work today. I'm too clutch, ain't no pun intended. Call me sir today. Check the prices out, my collection feeling bird today. Anything Joe.
Hello everyone and welcome back to Anything Joe's, a collaborative journey through the world of G.I. Joe. My name is Greg Engel.
And I'm Jaren Decker.
And we'll be your host today. Today it's a format change. And it's a long-awaited, often requested segment. When we started doing the comic book coverage, it was simple. We just talked about it. But I felt unfulfilled by that because I wanted to do more and I wanted it to be a more theatrical style experience. I wanted people to be able to enjoy it no matter what. And it was becoming a lot of work. And the quality was suffering because of the timeline. I had to get them out for that specific week's episode. And there would be a lot of stuff that ended up on the cutting room floor. And I was dissatisfied with that. I wasn't being able to give it my all, which is what I wanted to do. So I'm proud to present that we're going to try something new and see how it works. We've launched a podcast within a podcast. It's called Speech Bubbles. Speech Bubbles is basically just an issue of the comic. But right now we're doing what we've actually been talking about, chronologically in order. That might change depending on feedback from you guys, but we're going to keep moving forward. And it's available on YouTube, and the entire thing is just the comic from start to finish with as much audio as I could add in to give it as much realism as possible, which is what we've been doing for a while. It's been trending closer and closer to that. And basically what happened was I wanted to be able to put something out for the community that wasn't dependent on your approval of the show. This is something that is for people that don't necessarily enjoy the conversations and discussions that we have. It's something that anybody can pick up and look at. If they don't have the comic, if they're just wanting a refresher, if they're just looking for something different, that's what Speech Bubbles is for. It's not completely commentary free. You just watch it and that's it. But I knew that wouldn't be enough because the community is very outspoken about their enjoyment of these. We have a small, dedicated fan base that really enjoys these. And so I felt conflicted about making an audio only experience that does require you to watch it to kind of get everything that was there, because then our listeners are alienated, which is why I did not put Speech Bubbles on the audio only channel, because I wasn't sure if anybody would find any enjoyment out of it. If you feel differently, let me know and we can change that. But for now, what we're doing is essentially both. This will enable us to still discuss the comic at length, more so than ever, because now all the work is done. I can just sit back and enjoy it, and we can discuss kind of what's going on in it. If you have, this is the collaborative part of the journey that we're on. If you have a better idea, if there's something that you would like to see that will help you enjoy it more, I'm all ears. Again, this is in development, and we're just trying some new stuff. This will give me the freedom to develop and edit at my own pace, and then when it's ready for an episode release, that's what we'll do. It would be almost insulting of me if I didn't also mention Deshaun 7 Gaming and Comics, which has been doing a almost animated comic book series for quite a while now, and they deliver exceptional stuff. If you're into this at all, I highly recommend that. When I started doing comic book coverage, that is what I had in mind. They got there before me, and I think there's enough room. I certainly hope they don't feel like I'm trying to knock them out of the game or anything. There's plenty of issues for everybody to cover. They are doing it in a completely different way. And again, I highly recommend you check it out. It's great community created stuff. Does it cost you anything? I mean, I highly recommend it. Okay, with that in mind, let's get into issue 17 of G.I. Joe's A Real American Hero, Loose Ends. This cover is really good. Even though this is not exactly what happens in the comic, it's still a pretty faithful, like, selling point. You get a very similar experience to this, at least.
Man, the colors are beautiful.
Yeah, great. I mean, it is a great cover. It is one of the, maybe one of the only covers that has Grand Slam. Like, you can't really tell it's Grand Slam until you're in the actual book, but this is a rare Grand Slam MVP moment, in my opinion. Like, you don't get to see him take the limelight that often. Just in general, this issue is part of a run that I did not have as a kid. I did not start reading G.I. Joe regularly until like 40 in the 40s. And so I had been collecting issues as much as I could, but I had read a lot of things through the G.I. Joe Digest, which we talked about recently, that had like 4 issues in it. But there was a real little window, I'm going to say it's like from 13 to 19, that I did not have as a kid. I didn't get to read it until way later as an adult, and this obviously is one of those. I spend a ton of time on the book when I'm making the video for this, so I was shocked to be like, I maybe have only read this a couple of times my entire life. And so when I was really digging into it, it's crazy how well I know it now. I feel like I know it like the back of my hand. What I don't know is what was happening prior to this, since it's been so long since we talked about it. Let's see if we can piece together a previously on from our memory. And it's hard to go back sometimes because Larry has got plots starting as plots are ending. But for the sake of brevity, let's assume that our stopping point here is Dr. Venom, Quinn, and Snake Eyes. They've sent a team into, I think it was like Rio Gordo or somewhere like that, one of the quasi-fictional areas that they tend, or Sierra Gordo, sorry. And they are investigating the lead on Cobra. They tip their hand right away. It's like Stalker, Breaker, Gung-Ho, Snake Eyes, of course. They tip their hand right away when they meet Dr. Venom, because he's like, well, the only people that would know that are bad guys and the good guys. So you're obviously the good guys. So it goes south right away. Things escalate. Snake Eyes gets like locked in a building that's on fire. It burns his mask and I guess maybe his face some more. He jumps in a river. They've been taken hostage. Things start to break apart. Anyway, the crux of the story is Quinn, Snake Eyes, and Dr. Venom all get trapped in a bunker that Cobra has dropped a bomb on to kind of like tie up ironically, loose ends. They dive into a bunker that they were using as a base on this island, and it enables them to survive the bomb blast, but they're trapped at the bottom of this little river. They manage to escape, and then we follow them on an extended journey where they're trying to get back into the States because they've basically been left behind by everybody, good guys, bad guys together. They do finally make it back, and they are immediately arrested because they crash a plane like on a public beach. Dr. Venom is able to get out. I mean, like before the issue's even over, the lawyer's there waiting to get him out, and they've left Quinn and the Snake Eyes stranded in jail. On top of that, what started this whole operation was a mysterious virus that Dr. Venom has been developing that's supposed to make people die or extremely ill, one or the other. And they're hoping to use that to their advantage somehow. I've forgotten. There's an arc where they are trying to inject it on money, I think. They go to the printing press and they stop Venom from putting this virus into the money because I guess it would come in contact with a lot of human hands. I'm sorry, I might be way off, but I know that part of it is right. They go to the printing press, torpedoes there in full gear to stop them.
Shoots a dude. I remember that.
Yes, that operation so that brings us pretty much to where we're at. That operation fails. The Joes stop them like right at the door. They get engaged in a firefight. The Hiss leaves with Cobra Commander and Destro and Dr. Venom in it, and Major Blood has been introduced, and Cobra Commander wants him to kill Destro. I think he just feels threatened by Destro immediately, as he should, because Destro has already shown he's a very capable leader and fighter. Major Blood is going to shoot Destro, but Baroness is driving, and when she realizes what's happening, she turns the vehicle dramatically, causes it to crash, catches on fire, and explodes as Major Blood leaves her there to die. Destro goes into shell shock as a result, and as Dr. Venom, Destro, and Cobra Commander are fleeing the scene, Cobra Commander is able to shoot Hawk and gun him down because he's trying to stop him from leaving. I think that's actually pretty close. I know I left out a lot of stuff,
Great
but
job.
that's why we record them. Feel free to go back and watch any other episodes. They're only a year old. All right, so now we know we're all on the same page. Well, let's see what happens next.
Dawn,
I remember the
the northern
barbecue.
outskirts of Washington, D.C.
Not in this one. You're thinking of the cartoon.
Clutch. Hawk is still alive. But I saw Cobra Commander shoot him in the back 3 times. How?
When he saw how bad the odds were against us on this mission, Hawk decided to stack the deck with an armored vest under his uniform. Ballistic nylon might prevent bullet penetration, but it doesn't soften the impact much. Hawk's still in a world of hurt. If Wild Bill and Doc can't medevac him out of here ASAP, internal bleeding might do him in.
So they don't make you wait very long. Hawk's gonna be okay. You would have assumed shot dead, and you can even see that there's the bullet holes on the like back of his uniform there. But and I feel like, didn't they tease that somebody was gonna die, and then that I don't know. Anyway, they're not gonna like. It's a classic. What's the name of the old sci-fi robot? Lost in Space. Lost in Space used to do this kind of junk where you'd watch a whole hour in the last 5 minutes and be like, whoa, these aliens melt faces off. What are we going to do? And then you'd have to come back and watch the next episode. Batman also, the 60s did this a lot.
Doc, don't be dragging tail. Hawk needs a plasma hookup and some...
Whoa, who's
Me
the doc
too.
here anyhow? I'll decide what treatment the man gets. I don't get in your way when you're busting heads. Don't get in mine when I'm rolling pills.
Is he? Will he?
Take a walk.
So Doc's shown up to take care of Hawk, exactly who you would expect, and he's got some no-nonsense advice to just kind of get out of his way and let him take care of it. Here on this next panel, here's another very bizarrely drawn vamp. It's very geometric looking, which is funny because the Mobat that's wheeling behind it looks great, but this one is like, I don't know, it looks elongated or something.
Let the man do his job, Scarlet.
Oh, I know. It's just so frustrating sometimes.
Scarlet, we intercepted your call to Wild Bill for a medevac. Is it Hawk?
Yes, it's Hawk. And Doc's working on him now. We'll get him on a stretcher and fly him to the hospital.
So the Mobat's shown up with basically everybody else that's in tow. I see Breaker, I see Tripwire, I guess that's... I don't know. I'm not sure who that is. Cover Girl, Torpedo, and Gung Ho. This guy in the middle, I'm like every other Joe I can name. I know what they're I know exactly. See, that's the thing. Dude, I've worked with this particular issue for so long now. I know it really well. I know exactly where Steeler's at. He's in the APC, and it will be shown later. So, I'm not real sure who that's supposed to be.
How bad is it?
Did you see who did it?
Oh, for Pete's sake.
The tank's tying up traffic. We've got some angry civilians backed up behind us.
Let him wait. Hawk ain't moving till Doc says it's okay.
So we got some angry civilians that the tank has kind of blocked their way. Pretty standard New York. Oh, a guy got shot. Well, I'm late for work. But yeah, they're just trying to push by. And this particular gentleman's gotten out of his car. This is my voice, and I held my nose when I recorded it, just as a fun fact.
Hey, some people have to work for a letting you know. Move that pile of iron.
Who did it, Scarlet?
It was Cobra Commander. Hawk was struggling with Destro in the back of the HISS tank. Cobra Commander was in the turret.
I'm warning you, I'm beginning to lose my patience. I have a lot of influence on defense committees.
He shot Hawk. Back shot him.
Did it, Cochon? This be some fine car you call your fella? Sure thing, real fine. What they be calling this here top car now?
It's a good classic Shelby GT Cobra.
Gung Ho is not okay with the simple word Cobra. It sends him into a blind rage. He starts destroying this man's car. I don't think any of us really feel bad for him because this guy's a pretty pompous jerk.
Look at this shirt. I've got a Ford shirt on right now. Like it hurts me.
It wounds you. Yeah, imagine what a pristine car like that would be like worth like now. It'd be like having a vintage Joe still mint on card. I don't remember when Gung Ho's accent like gets downplayed, but he is written phonetically for much of this, and in later points I feel like he's not represented with having anywhere near as thick this accent. Certainly not in any live action like on all the cartoons. It's nowhere near this thick.
Now you've done it. That door is going to cost...
I hate cobras.
Oh my goodness.
I hear that name, it makes me want to smash things.
Come on, Gung Ho. Give us a hand securing Hawk to the copter. He's about
that
ready
poor
for
guy's
a leisurely
car.
flight to Bethesda Naval Hospital.
Hawk's all right.
He's gonna be fine.
Okay, so just in case you weren't willing to believe this child's comic that this guy could survive 3 bullets, Doc is going to give you some added plot armor to make it even more believable, which I appreciate. I mean, I get it, right? It does seem a little far-fetched, but I mean, this is a comic book where everybody dies and comes back to life. I don't think we put a whole lot of stock on it. Hawk is getting loaded up on the Dragonfly now.
Most armored vests won't stop a 9mm hardball round. Luckily, Hawk was wearing a SWAT model with extra ballistic layers. Make sure those straps are tight.
Yo, Zap, this is Breaker. We're loading Hawk on the Dragonfly now. What is your present status?
I'm driving north on the interstate in pursuit of Cobra Commander's his tank.
You want a backup? We got 6 Joes and a tank sitting here, waiting for someone to open a can of
I was
firefight.
thinking, here's the problem. They've got Grunt, Short Fuse, Rock and Roll, blah, blah, blah. But this guy on the left... This guy on the left does not look like the Short Fuse that I have known in my entire life. This guy on the left looks the way I imagine Steeler is. As a matter of fact, he looks so much like him that I might have even given him the voice that I was envisioning Steeler to have, because, again, this is not how Short Fuse normally looks. I don't know. Anyway, so yes, you're right. That probably was Steeler in the beginning, and this very broad football-looking gentleman is supposed to be Short Fuse. There's no question about the other two. Oh, no, wait a minute. If this is Short Fuse over here... Okay, never mind. You're right. It's all good. Grunt, Short Fuse, Rock and Roll, Flash. Obviously, that's Rock and Roll. Zap's the one that's talking.
That was a roller coaster you just took me on. I was right. I was
yeah,
wrong,
sorry.
I was right.
No, I was right. I saw Flash and thought, oh, that's him, because, as I've mentioned before, Flash and Short Fuse are basically identical in the original figures. One has brown gloves and one has black, and this guy's not wearing either. So that's the only way I can usually easily tell them apart if they're not carrying their weapons.
I've got Grunt, Short Fuse, Rock and Roll, and Flash with me. They're greedy. They don't want to share that Cobra Commander with anyone when we catch up to
The
him.
ones with the visors I'm a big fan of.
Besides, we got some extra firepower along for the ride, as well as a friendly eye in the sky.
There's the, I think that's the Hurricane is what that's called. It's like a anti-air. And we see a lot of this. I mean, not this specifically, but we've seen a lot of vehicles that can tow lately in all scales. The SMS for classified. Just another one of these little guys. It's rare. I never think about putting something on the back of the APC. I'm assuming without looking that it does have a tow hitch based on when it was produced. And yeah, there's all this other great stuff that would have clicked onto it.
I love the APC. One of the best vehicles, in my opinion.
I love the APC too. I didn't have it until much later in life. But it was a perfect troop transport. It's a great early addition to the early vehicles. It was like a key. I would have loved to have had it as a kid. Instead, I had 20 people riding on a freaking vamp. They're attached underneath it.
Listening in on the communications.
I mean, they are using the Dragonfly.
True.
Listening and watching.
At least they didn't put him on the hood.
I'm about to proceed further north along the interstate at lowest cruising speed. Should be able to spot your target right quick. It's not easy to hide a tank on the highway.
Further north.
Objective Venom. Destro's in some sort of trance. He just keeps staring back at the city.
Forget him, Cobra Commander. We have other, more urgent matters to worry about. We are too vulnerable on the open road. We must...
So this is Destro, Cobra Commander, and Venom. They are... it's a funny sight to imagine, but they're in a HISS tank trying to escape. They're just on the open highway in a HISS tank. And we've talked about this before, that the top speed of I wouldn't envision the top speed of the HISS tank to be able to book it. based on the fact that the Vamp is chasing it, and letters from our viewers with research that shows that there is a his stands for what? High speed sentry. So it's right there in the name. I guess it does have a pretty decent top speed. Regardless, crawling or hauling, seeing one of these in the streets by itself, just zooming around with these 3 characters on it would certainly, I would at least pull over or put on my hazards.
One thing I wouldn't do is I wouldn't honk at it. Like
no, I would not.
Formulate an escape plan and implement.
You're wrong, Venom. Destro is the immediate threat. The events of the previous night may have unhinged him. Who knows the thoughts that run through his brain? He has witnessed the extinction of the great love of his life, the Baroness. She was his reason for existence. All his ambition and all his skills were bent to one purpose, to win her everlasting love. He thought he had to win her love. He had to prove himself to her. It never occurred to him.
Great page, first of all,
That's
just
beautiful.
This whole thing. Also,
Glasses,
this is our
the
first.
Exploded hiss.
Yeah, it's got it, and it's all summed up there easily. One of the first glimpses that we really get into the backstory of Destro. Keep in mind, Destro's only been around for like 3 issues at this point, so we're taking any little tidbit of information that we can get. And we already knew that Destro and Baroness were romantically linked because they shared a tender embrace not that long ago. But yeah, so you really learn that Destro is Baroness directly influences Destro's mood on many levels.
The thing he wanted was always there. He must have realized the truth at the moment she sacrificed herself to save him from Major Blood. Now his train of logic plods inexorably toward the next obviously.
So Cobra Commander is spinning his little web of lies here because he knows he's semi-caught. It could go bad for him very quickly. But as any good devious commander has a plan, this is his backup to cover his own butt, basically.
Glaring question: why would Major Blood try to kill Destro? The first answer to come to mind might be because Cobra Commander ordered him to. That's logical.
Deadly logic.
But not the truth.
Nope.
Major Blood was in love with the Baroness. Killing you would have eliminated his arch-rival for her affections when his assassination attempt was foiled by the Baroness herself. He killed her in spite so no one could have her.
This panel cracks me up. Cobra Commander is visibly laughing in this panel, like he's so convinced, like he's just like, this is easy. I can bend anybody to my will. He doesn't even try to hide the fact. And besides the fact that the mask would have already covered the laughing Cobra Commander, you didn't have to add one of the little like dog from Duck Hunt motions to really rub it in. But yeah, Destro is so like messed up in the head right now. He pretty much buys it immediately.
Of course, he wanted her for himself.
Yep.
I was blind. Blood would not escape my wrath. There is no safe place on Earth for him. I swear it. He is mine.
Wow, did you see that? You bet! It was one of those new swing wing jets. What's it doing flying so low? Who knows? Maybe he's helping Smokey flush out speeders on the interstate.
Sky Striker calling APC. Do you copy? Loud and clear, eh?
Got visual contact with the bad guys, Zap. They're on a parallel route just west of you. You can read all about it in the funny papers.
Listen, Ace, I'm not one to critique, but as I just stated, this should have been a pretty easy find. You should have been able to lock them down a long time ago. It's the only tank you'll ever see on the interstate, most likely. And on top of that, I mean, like, yeah, I would have at least given them a warning shot or something. I know you're in a suburban neighborhood, but let's let them know. Let's just end this right now.
Too much civilian traffic for
Coward.
weaponry. He's all yours.
Thanks much, amigo. How's about maintaining a holding pattern over the target, just in case we need some old-fashioned air support?
You got it.
What's going on up there?
Just find out where the bad guys are, and we're going to head them off at the pass.
Meanwhile, in Miami, where Snake Eyes and the mercenary Quinn are still jailed after crash landing a stolen bomber on the beach.
So, Shadowman, neither of us have an expensive lawyer to trade paper favors for our freedom like Dr. Venom did. But I suspect you too have a hidden resource that they know nothing about. Mine is a saw blade hidden in a hollow heel.
And yours, I see.
That's also super useful, but I would never have one of those to hide away anywhere at any time. It's way more likely that I could potentially keep a cool blade in my boot, I guess. But I guess Snake Eyes had to rip his own.
I'd be.
It's $100 bill.
Be using it
Not much use to us in this cell, I'm afraid.
I mean,
But
it's
then we
probably
won't
going
be
to
here
cost
for
at
much
least
longer.
$50 to get his suit sewn back up where he had that sewn in
At a toll
originally.
booth near
But
Baltimore.
who am I to tell you?
Many variables at play here. This produce truck is a trap. I can't control the situation.
Right. So, of all the people that are trying to escape, there's one guy that's really on the bad end of the stick, and that's Major Blood, whose vehicle exploded. Is on the good guys need him to answer questions. The bad guys need him to answer questions. He's really doesn't have anywhere safe to turn, and because of that, he's basically looking for he's desperate for an escape at any price.
Just hold on a doggone minute here. One of your stickers is expired. Don't fret, though. Just a routine check.
A bus, transport and hostages combined. A situation I can control. Stay your hand, driver, lest a hero's laurels adorn thy brow in death's slumber.
Whatever you say, Mac. You got the gun.
Proceed north, driver. Any deviation from my instruction shall result in mortal injury to a passenger.
Major Blood. Of all the buses.
As Major Blood is taking this driver hostage he needs hostages. It's an escape route. It's just his bad luck that he's happened to pick the exact bus that Scarface is on. Scarface, someone else that is being pursued by the good guys to answer questions, being pursued by the bad guys because he didn't do his job. He did his job right, and he has stuff that they need. Is also wanted by Quinn and Snake Eyes for being part of that whole thing where they got sunk. So talk about another dude that's really on the outs, and he's also butts heads with Major Blood, who they hated each other like from the very beginning.
For him to hijack. Well, it's gonna take more than a half-baked port to stop old Scarface from getting home to Coney Island.
Yeah.
Hey, come back here! What you think you're doing? Hey!
Gee, Stalker, that bus just ran the toll booth. That seems suspicious to you?
No grand slam, not in the least tiny bit. But that guy riding up front with the eye patch and hand cannon, that's suspicious.
So I want to talk about two things here, and the easier one will simply be that Major Blood's weird rocket launcher fires bullets. I don't know if I really don't understand the nature of the gun, quite frankly. It shoots lasers in the cartoon, but they all shot lasers there. It shoots bullets in the comic. I don't know if I've ever actually seen it shoot the rocket, so I really don't know what I'm looking at. But when I was making this, I went with what visually was there, which was gunfire, so I added gunfire noises. Obviously, if you just had a rocket, you'd only be able to shoot it once. It might have made this scene quite a bit shorter, but the other thing I want to talk about is the fact that Stalker, they're on the ram cycle, then they're just hanging out at a toll booth. Like, I don't understand unless it's part of the manhunt or the net, and they're just like watching the roads. But I don't remember seeing any dialogue that specified that, hey, we've got these specific avenues of approach branched out. I do like that everybody kind of it hit the floor and it all spread out and everybody went in different directions, and the Joe team did the same. They had sent their operatives all across to pursue everybody that was trying to get away, which I think makes for an interesting dynamic in the story where there's all these different things going on all at once.
In a decidedly unfashionable quarter of Miami.
Another natural. The boy is hot. I'm riding. Anybody calling my bluff?
I'm in.
Here comes trouble.
So Quinn and Snake Eyes are out of jail. They didn't even have to show it. They were just like, what did you expect? Quinn probably just pulled the whole wall off of the prison. And they're making their way through the streets and looking for a way out. It was nice of them to leave. I think if I had arrested someone like Snake Eyes, I would not let him stay in his Snake Eyes clothing because it's very intimidating.
Morning, gentlemen. We're not looking for trouble. Just want to buy into your little game of chance here.
No offense, mister, but I never gamble with anybody twice as big as me.
Besides, you don't look like no shooter to me.
Dice are not my forte. My friend here shoots. I hold the money.
Okay, mystery man, we'll take your money. Shoot. The point is Snake Eyes.
What's so funny?
So, if you're too afraid to gamble with Quinn, a man that's quote unquote twice your size, but you're okay with the dude that's dressed completely in black, has like weird military goggles on, I think that would be the more intimidating of the two. But anyway, that's not what I'm going to talk about. What I'm actually going to talk about is the fact that when this issue was originally published, people wrote in and complained that the verbiage that Snake Eyes is laughing is impossible because he's a mute. And that's technically not correct. You can laugh without evoking the vocal cords. However, when I was making this, when I read this, when I've always read this, my interpretation of it has always been simply that Snake Eyes is making a laughing motion. Like, you can laugh silently and still tell what somebody's doing, like shrugging your shoulders. I've always kind of thought it was like that. So instead of trying to squeeze in some weird laugh noise, I wouldn't even know how to put it in there. I wouldn't know what it would sound like. I chose to do nothing and just kind of
just do like the breathe out your nose thing that people do, like.
Yeah, put the dog from Wacky Races in there, like.
North of Washington.
We're saved.
I've established contact with Cobra Central in Springfield. Help is on the way to us even as I speak.
That just means we have to stay exposed on the highway for even longer.
We'll get away. Nothing will keep me from my revenge.
So, it's a weird little throwaway moment where they're showing that the his tank is still on the run, and they haven't been caught yet for some particular reason, but we now know that the APC is basically on their trail because Ace has put a little beeline on them so they know where to head.
Half a mile south.
Oh, there they are now.
We're closing in fast. We should have visual contact over the next rise.
Zap, this is Breaker. We just picked up a warning from a radar station in Maryland.
You've got an aerial company coming in low and fast.
How many and what? Disregard last inquiry, Breaker, and try to raise Ace in the communication.
Hey, okay, so first of all, this is technically the first appearance in the comic book of the Fang helicopter. We can see 3 of them up here in the left-hand corner.
Nice.
But I did want to make note of this rad jet, this helicopter in the middle that we've never gotten before. And since we've been compiling an exceptionally good list of vehicles that didn't get made that should have, I'd like to put this on there. Very sleek, just straight up military. And it has that cool like winch or claw thing at the bottom so you could transport vehicles via it, which I think is very cool.
Can you imagine dropping like 2 hisses off of that?
We've got 3 Fang helicopters, 2 jet fighters, and a large transport helicopter. Need I tell you that none of them are on our side?
You hear that, Ace? Take some heat off our boys, why don't ya?
I'm on the case, Breaker. Missiles armed and ready. Safety off on the Gatling gun. And a wee bit of extra altitude for that distinct advantage in the art of dogfighting.
North of the toll booth in Baltimore.
I'm not an expert, but I thought Gatling guns are like the ones you like rotated.
They are, right?
The old school.
Yeah, they have. Yeah, the if you look at the Sky Striker, it has a Gatling gun. It's molded in. It doesn't spin. I'm pretty sure.
But is it still a Gatling gun if you don't have to spin it?
I mean, you're the gun guy. You tell me, dude.
I'm not.
I
just always remember like the old school, like the cowboy movies when they like upgraded and they got that thing and it's like, and they're manually like hand cranking it.
I don't know. You think that's hard when they use a gun? And I'm like, I have no idea what that sounds like, and I'm like Googling guns, very specific. And they'll be like, this gun was discontinued in 1987. I'm like, oh my god, I'm never gonna be able to find any audio of it. So some of this audio, yeah, we're cheating a little bit.
We can't dodge bullets forever, Stalker.
What do you want me to do, Grand Slam? Run him off the road?
Fools! Leave me be and live to fight another day.
Snuggle up on the rim.
Pull up on the left, on his blind side.
I think I know.
So, I forgot which one this is already. Grand Slam, right? Yes. See, this is what I'm talking about. The guys with the vest on that look the same. They didn't put their gloves on. That's like my go-to. I'm looking at them now. I can't name them. Brown gloves. I think brown gloves is Flash. That means
black gloves. No gloves.
I don't know, dude. There's I know so much about G.I. Joe, so it's borderline early signs of dementia that I'm still confusing these three Joes after 30 plus years.
But that don't mean I have to watch.
So he's climbing on the bus, he jumps on.
Nice.
So he dives to the front of the window, breaking it in, and kicks Blood in the face. Blood is not ready to give up.
All over for you, Major Blood.
Stand up, and he sees Scarface in the seat.
Not till I breathe my last.
Which momentarily dazes him just long enough to get basically knocked unconscious.
Got a good punch on him, whoever that is.
He did. He gives him a good one. It's definitely Grizzle.
Don't worry, we'll fix it in post.
Right.
Elsewhere.
Look, they're splitting up. The jet fighters are headed for the ceiling, and the copters are headed for us. Rock and roll, do your thing.
Wow.
Can't hear you, Zap. My
yeah,
twin
so
Vulcans
first,
are too loud.
not a strong first appearance of the thing. We told you we'd show them. We didn't tell you guys we'd sell them for you. They're basically don't even get a good full shot of them. They're just there and then they're gone. Here we can see the chopper picking up the HISS tank that Cobra Commander and Destro and Dr. Venom are on. Once again, showing exactly how cool this thing would look if it was a real toy.
But the big fish are getting away. That transport copter just picked up the HISS tank carrying Cobra Commander, Destro, and Dr. Venom.
We still have an ace in the hole.
Size.
Another great shape. It's a transformer.
Got both bogeys in my sights, boys. Missiles away. One of them clipped me. I'm folding wings and headed for the basement. The second bogey is following me down. I can feel his crosshair reticule creeping up my spine. Right about now, he should be arming his heat-seeking missiles.
That's a nice piece of editing there.
And he's confident. He's not expecting me to flap out my air brakes, allowing me to overshoot him right into my sights.
Nice.
Sorry, Joes. I'd like to chase down that transport copter for you, but I've got a damaged aircraft here that has to be nursed back to base. See you back at the pit.
So basically, Ace was just around to knock off all the other planes, so they couldn't stick around and shoot him up. And he had to take damage also because that will give the chopper with the HISS tank time to escape. So it is all kind of coming together neatly here.
All this and Cobra Commander still gets away? What are we gonna say to Hawk?
We tell him get well, and we go about tracking down this Cobra creep and drag his sorry case back to Staten Island.
Further south.
That was a fine play, Shadow Man. Winning all their money was simply a ruse to force them to put the car up as the final wager. I still think it would have been a gesture of goodwill to have left the man his hat.
So we can see that Snake Eyes is a pretty good gambler, apparently, and they've hustled them out of pretty much everything. The car, the hat, and all the money, I would assume, also. And Snake Eyes just seeming pretty glib about it, quite frankly. Is wearing the cowboy hat, has his feet up on the dash, is a kind of a weird, cocky side of him that you don't normally see.
So these are coming out in, what, mid-80s timeline-wise?
I mean, I would say early to mid. This is probably still year 2.5, maybe.
So
yeah,
I guess
I'd say
just
mid-80s.
the artist like drawing older cars, because if we've already, the two cars that we featured heavily are both older. Like, I mean,
it's
Cobra was 65 to 70 something. Mm-hmm. If it's a Mustang 2, I guess it could be a little later. But then this is like a 60s, like whatever.
This is so early in Larry's career, it's hard for me to say for sure, but I know from his later scripts that he can be very specific in what he wants to see on the page. Normally that applies to military talk. I want it this gun, and this is how it looks, and this is how it loads. I've seen many reports of artists saying, hell, he would write me back and say, it's got to look like this, it's got to be like this, you've done this wrong. So it's not outside the realm of possibility that Larry was like, this is the car that I'm envisioning in my mind, and this is the year and the model and the make. I wouldn't put it past him. But your point is just as valid that Mike Vosberg, who drew this issue, could have just been a big car guy. Is a big car guy. I'll ask him if we ever get a chance to meet him. I'm sure they will not remember, as that is a common book thing. Say,
he'll be like, I've been waiting 40 years for someone to ask me about the cars.
What hypocrisy. Here I am, riding the road to vengeance, and I speak of gestures of
another action figure they should have made.
It is not enough to know the weasel spirit
I'm pretty sure you can make that on your own. Minimal. You get a Naga hat, his hat is just the same thing, basically.
Revenge in the ear of your soul for all your waking hours. But I'm through wrestling with the weasel. We go to Coney Island, Shadow Man. We take the first step towards vengeance.
This has been another great episode of Chicken Soup for the Quinn soul. Another deep message delivered to young children that have no idea what the premise of revenge will be like until you're old and bitter like me and you want to get revenge on Bob Shannon, the Walmart cashier that accidentally charged you for 4 oranges back in 1994, and you won't let it go.
Meanwhile, in Springfield.
Realm Destro, the helicopter has landed.
I like the colors on that helicopter, too.
He's lost in his
Yeah,
thoughts and
it
his
had
sorrow
like,
again.
I don't know if it was, I guess the tank was stored inside it because you can see treads on the bottom of it.
Because if Destro gets blood alive and the Major lets slip that it was you who ordered the killing...
Bethesda Naval Hospital.
What happened to this man? Looks like someone used his face for a trampoline.
Take this patient into the emergency operating room immediately. We'll need whole blood
I hope I never hear that. Sheesh.
I told you to subdue the man, not tap dance on his head. Major Blood has got to do some serious talking. If his jaw is busted...
Cut me some slack, Stalker. I only hit him once or twice, 3 or 4 times at the most, honest. Half a dozen, tops.
So, yes, Stalker is given a talking to because he was a little too rough on old Major Blood. Major Blood's being admitted into the hospital for his, I guess, fairly serious medical injuries. I'd be just as concerned about the man that dived through a windshield and broke it on his own that he didn't cut or beat himself up.
Do you think you're going?
Don't even worry about it.
That patient is a dangerous terrorist, and...
He's in critical condition. He's not going to jump up and be a threat to anybody for a long time.
Attention, all emergency teams report to the burn unit. Female patient has arrived with 3rd-degree burns over 80% of body surface.
80%? Both these guys can wait. She's priority.
Nurse,
interesting.
Watch these two. One of them is supposed to be a dangerous character.
Obviously, they were speaking of me. My wounds were more pretense than fact. Now show me the parking lot, or I shall be forced to demonstrate the dangerous qualities they...
Do you think that means that Major Blood is very... Yeah, I was going to say, do you think it means Major Blood is very resilient and he can really take a beating? Or do you think it means that the Joe... it's got to be Grand Slam. I'm just going to go with the Grand Slam. I'm willing to put it all on the line knowing that you guys will not be quiet on Twitter if I get it wrong. Or is it this Grand Slam so weak he can't punch a guy properly so you can punch him as many times as you want?
I mean, but how ugly is Major Blood if they're saying that it looks like his face was used as a trampoline?
I don't know. He'd probably write a pretty sad poem about it if he heard it.
I think not, Blood. The dangerous character they were referring to was me. It always seems to make the doctors uptight when the patient refuses to remove his shoulder holster or give up his .45.
It's Hawk. He's totally fine. He wasn't even down for the entire issue, and I do think that's a statement to what a badass he is that he takes 3 bullets in the back, and he's like, I'm okay. Hawk is all bandaged up here, like, pretty considerably, but he's still able to draw his gun on Blood.
Nurse, go find me somebody with a green suit and a gun.
Are you Hawk? That female burn victim asked
you already have half of that,
before
Hawk.
she passed out.
Actually, you have all of it.
She was wearing these.
Now we know for sure, we can put together these 2 small pieces of evidence that there was a person with a female with burn victim wearing these glasses. It's safe to say that the Baroness is in fact still alive after all.
Cobra Commander, I have 3 rather distressing bits of news for you. Hawk is alive. Major Blood is alive and in the hands of the Joe team. The bitterness is in the burn unit. She may or may not survive. If she lives, she'll never look the same. I have already placed my cover in jeopardy by lying to the Joes about Blood's condition. I await your orders as to the disposition of our 2 liabilities. All hair, mighty Cobra.
So this is the doctor that they were just like brushing up against, basically, and he will make more appearances in this series somehow. And it's supposed to also kind of show you guys that Cobra is everywhere. They're not just soldier infantrymen that they throw at you until you shoot them dead. They're doctors, lawyers, like important politicians. They do really kind of have their hands in every pot. You never know when a Cobra operative is going to be right around the corner selling you out, as we've seen here.
Hawk is still alive, Destro, and Major Blood has been captured by the Joes. They're probably taking Blood to G.I. Joe headquarters.
Blast. If we only still had Scarface, we could continue with our original plan to use Scarface to ferret out the location of G.I. Joe headquarters by infecting him with the toxin and letting him get captured. We've got to find Scarface.
Impossible. He's gone to ground.
He has a hideout, and I know where it is.
It does seem weird that Scarface is the linchpin of this operation, because Scarface is just the Typhoid Mary. He's just the person that carries the virus to completion. All he's got to do is get infected, get captured, and die. That could be any. We got thousands of Cobra dudes that are loyal and stupid enough to be that guy. I'm not 100% sure why it has to be Scarface.
They just really don't like him.
I mean, that's you. Honestly, where I was going is that Destro is so traumatized that his mind is fixated on Scarface because he needs somebody to blame. And for Cobra Commander, that's perfect, because Cobra Commander also needs somebody to blame. So let Destro be preoccupied while Cobra Commander figures out what the next step will be.
The George Washington Bridge on the Hudson River between Fort Lee, New Jersey, and New York City.
You see, Shadowman, Scarface is the key. Scarface knows where Springfield is, and somebody in Springfield knows where Dr. Venom is. I may not know where Scarface is at this moment, but I know where his hidey hole is. Say, Fed, how do I get to Coney Island?
West Side Highway to the tunnel. Belt Parkway all the way. Can't miss it.
Taxi! Where to? Coney Island.
I want the Harrier fueled and ready for flight in half an hour.
I need flight plans and authorizations.
You'll need neither. I'll fly the plane there, you'll fly it back.
From where?
Coney Island.
So, that's Loose Ends. Issue 17 of G.I. Joe, A Real American Hero from Marvel. It looks like a lot of, even though this is titled Loose Ends, it's actually more about setting the stage. It's not really tying up loose ends as much as it is setting up loose ends to be tied up. And the big part of this story right now, the arc that we are essentially in, is all about it starts with Quinn, Dr. Venom, and Snake Eyes, and as leads into this, we're in the second phase of this story arc now, basically, which is all about Scarface, who has something that everybody needs, essentially, which makes him a very desirable target. And we also know that everybody already knows where he's at. Not only is Scarface going to his quote-unquote hidey hole on Coney Island, so are Quinn and Snake Eyes, so is Destro, so are the Joes. Everybody is coming to one place for one conflict, and it should be great. Jared, do you have any thoughts on this issue before we wrap up?
Really, first off, it's just good to get back into reading these. As much as I love the new ongoing, there's just something different about these old ones. Not necessarily nostalgia, just more of I guess just more time period when they were written, and seeing like how things have changed. It's really cool to look at and see. But I love the art in these old books. It's incredible. Like just seeing how well a lot of these were done. Realistically, a lot of this was done just to sell toys, but like the amount of care that was put into it, you can tell that the people that were working on the book wanted to make this great instead of just put something out like would happen nowadays, where they just shove it out and don't really care. At times, not to say that that's the only thing that happens, but these guys like really, Larry poured himself into it. Even like the point where they mention his 45 and it looks like a Colt. It's got that slide. It's the care and the dedication to every detail is just so cool. And then seeing like the Cobra and all the different characters that are interacting, and you see that split dynamic really, and I don't remember where we were at before, and I'm sure it's been teased a lot, but like we're 3 issues into Destro being around, and he's already set up as like basically his own thing. Like he's going to be the downfall of Cobra is what Cobra Commander thinks, and seeing that how that can tear him apart when you see the Doctor, who is an operative or at least an ally of Cobra. You think Cobra could be anywhere. Well, how would they be able to beat him if they all work together? Who knows? Because they will never work together. They're always going to fight within each other. So it's really cool.
Yeah, they hit the ground running with bad guys hating on other bad guys, and it's such a fundamental part of like the Cobra organization that I'm glad that it starts soon and lasts forever, because it's very fun. It's a fun element to have all these guys racing around with their own agendas, doing their own thing. This is like, this is peak G.I. Joe comics for me. Like I love every little bit of the run, but there's definitely something special about the first, honestly, the first third, I'd say, is all, they're just like, there really aren't any, there's nothing holding it back. I think they're all great. I enjoy even issues like this that are sort of meant to be transitional books between what was happening and what's going to happen, are still very exciting to read and explore, I think. Just the dynamics between each individual characters. We'll be back in 2 short weeks with more content. I know we've still got the ARAH cartoon to wrap up, and we've got some classified news to cover as well. So, please join us for that. I would love to hear feedback on how you feel about the format change and how it applies to you personally. If there's anything that we can do better, if there's any thoughts you have about how it's being produced now or ways to improve it, I'm all ears. You can email us directly at anythingjoespod@gmail.com, or you can find us on Twitter and Instagram at anythingjoespod, and we would love to hear from you. Yeah, that's it. These will keep coming, but I'm not going to put a timeline on it because I've already started working on the next one. When it's done, I'll put it out right away and we'll talk about it. And in the interim, we'll do what we've been doing, basically. Thanks so much for listening and watching, and we look forward to talking to you again on the next episode in just 2 short weeks, where anything's available for discussion here on Anything Joe's.
No pun intended, call me sir today. Check the prices out, my collection feeling bird today. In this game since 83, you fools ain't the same as me, you frontin'. All these other Joes ain't who they claim to be. Yeah, just the average Joe, that's why Cobra hating me. Yeah, boy, I'm Snake Eyes, that's why Scarlet dating me. I'm gung-ho, Louisiana love me, baby. Sunbow, yeah, the hero of me, baby. Storm Shadow.